This is the Amazing Teacher Podcast with Sam Rangel, episode number 19.
Welcome to the Amazing Teacher Podcast, where we sit down with amazing educators and pick their brains for tips, strategies, and ideas that you can take into your classrooms and be amazing. Now, here's your host, Sam Rangel.
Welcome, amazing teacher, to the 19th episode of the Amazing Teacher Podcast. This is Sam from successintheclassroom.com. Again, I want to thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me and listening to these conversations that I'm having with amazing teachers. It really means a lot to me when I see that so many of you are downloading the podcast and listening. Thank you for those of you who are spreading the word about the podcast, telling your friends on Twitter. I just started a Facebook page, so if you're into Facebook, you can look me up on Facebook. It's the Amazing Teacher Podcast. Just go to facebook.com/the Amazing Teacher Podcast, or you can find a link on the website. So thank you for letting your friends know about what we're doing here on the podcast. Today is another first for the podcast. Today I have Brad Currie, who is my first school administrator on the podcast. He's a vice principal in New Jersey, and I found Brad a couple years ago on Twitter, and I found him because he was one of the first people to share on Twitter some of my posts on the Success in the Classroom blog. So, that's always a pretty good feeling when someone shares what you're writing on the blog. So that right away got my attention, and since then I've been following him, and I'm so happy to have him as a guest here today. I really wanted to talk to him about one of his posts that he had called 10 Reasons Why I Should Hire You. He has the opportunity to hire new teachers, and I know my audience of new teachers and soon-to-be teachers, this is I think, is relevant information. What does a principal or administration look for in hiring new teachers? So I asked him about that post, and he was awesome with his answers. So listen for that. So without further ado, let's get right into the interview with Brad Currie. Ready? Here we go. Today, I am so happy to have Brad Currie on the podcast. Brad is an administrator. You're actually a vice principal. Is that right, Brad?
Correct. Yep. Vice principal in Chester, New Jersey, Black River Middle School.
Awesome. And Brad is actually my very first administrator on the podcast. He's our first vice principal on the podcast, and I'm so happy to have you on the show. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Thanks for having me on, Sam. This is a tremendous honor, and I follow you in the wonderful world of Twitter and all your different blog posts and websites and things. You have some great information out there for teachers and administrators that's practical, that's useful. And hopefully in this podcast, I can expand on some things related to the hiring process.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. Thank you for those kind words. When I first started on the blog and on Twitter, you were one of the ones who were one of my first retweets, and so I've always appreciated that, and I thank you once again for taking time to be on the podcast.
No problem.
Well, before we begin, Brad, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your educational career, and what you're doing now?
Sure. I started out as a coach, actually. When I was in college, I had enough credits. I was able to coach middle school and high school basketball. And the whole time I knew, particularly when, going back before that, my junior, senior year in high school, I knew that I wanted to be in education in some way, shape, or form, whether it was teaching or coaching, what have you. Then I was hired in 2001 as a middle school social studies and computer education teacher, and in Whippany, New Jersey. Great place. I worked with some outstanding people, worked for some outstanding people, and during that time, I really thought that I could even expand my influence further, and got my master's degree in educational administration. And in 2009. I was hired as a vice principal and athletic director for the middle school for the Reddington Township School District in White House Station, New Jersey. I was there for 4 years, and then another great experience kind of fell in my lap last year, where I was able to take on the role of a district supervisor for K-8 district, as well as middle school vice principal, very small district. So I wear many hats. So it gives me an opportunity to get into the elementary schools, which I didn't have before, and just continue to, push innovation, push technology integration, the use of social media in schools, and all the great things. It's a very exciting time to be in education, and I'm just very
Right.
fortunate to be able to connect with people like you and others in the social media world, and just continue to share.
And that's awesome. You started teaching in middle school, and now you're administrator in middle school. And if I know you followed me. That's all I've done is middle school. Now that I'm sitting in an administrator chair, I see these kids one on one a lot more than I did as a teacher. And I got to tell you, that's the age, and I've mentioned it several times on the podcast. That's the age where teachers and administrators can really have an impact on their identity. This is they're trying to figure out who they are, and this is where we really have an opportunity to make an impact. Do you find that?
Absolutely. I miss the classroom dearly. I miss coaching dearly. In fact, I'm making my return back to coaching this spring with softball. Our school was unable to secure a coach for softball, and I wanted to make sure the kids there, girls there, had a coach, had a season. So I'll be returning. Even though I'm not busy enough, I'll be returning to coaching, and so I'll enjoy that. But yeah, you really do you're able to impact kids in so many ways as an administrator, particularly those that sometimes need some more special attention, depending on what's going on outside of school in their own lives. You can really be a mentor to them. We have a great advisory program, and it's something that you're able to connect with the kids more on a more personal basis, and because you have that time as an administrator to really bring kids in, talk to them. I think student voice is tremendously important to get their insight on what's going on in school in their own lives. And it's just about 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I think is a great way to describe middle school, because the kids that you'll give them some advice, they'll take 2 steps forward, and the next day they go back again. But eventually, your impact on kids makes a difference. It may not be until high school or college or until they get into the real world, but I truly believe that the experiences, the mentoring, the advice we give these kids matters in middle school. It's a wacky time, especially 7th grade, but I think it matters in the long run.
That's why that's what I loved about middle school. And I said earlier when I was in teacher school, I was the only one of my class that put down I want to be a middle school teacher. And my professor said, you're going straight to heaven because of that. Because a lot of teachers really don't want to be in middle school, but I find that once they're there, they love it. Most teachers love it, and they see the opportunities they have to have an impact. And those teachers who really are amazing, they live for that. And so I love middle school, and I enjoy going to work every day just to connect with these kids and have an impact. I mean, that's what we want to do in life. We want to have an impact in everything we do. Well, I wanted to talk to you about one of your posts, a post that really had an impact on me and on my audience, because it talks about the 10 reasons why I should hire you. You're in a position to hire and interview teachers for positions at your school, and I thought this post was really, really relevant to my audience of new teachers and soon-to-be teachers. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. You said 10 reasons why I should hire you, and let me just go off some of these, and then we can elaborate. And the first one was the candidate truly cares about kids and will exhaust all options to promote their success. How do you find that in an interview, that care for kids?
Yeah, well, first of all, I gotta give some shout outs to some people that gave me a chance to really become a good interviewer, a person that's able to detect talent and be able to impact kids. And that was Kathy Hollinger at Reddington Township School District. And I worked with her. She was the principal. I was the vice principal. She let me really take on the interview process by reviewing applications and setting up the initial interviews and things along those lines. So if it wasn't for people like that, I wouldn't be where I am now. Bringing in the best and the brightest to impact our kids. But that's probably the toughest part of the interview process is trying to find that person that's going to connect with kids. But it's critical. I don't care what you know about math, what you know about history or science. You have to be able to establish a positive and appropriate relationship with those kids. And that goes, it's about caring. It's about taking that extra time to get to know kids. And so in an interview process, you got to make sure you ask questions that are aimed at, so what do you do to get to know kids on the first days of school? What do you do to establish or maintain that relationship during the school year outside of the classroom? Give me some examples. Be specific. And you're looking for initiatives, programs, things that people have put into place, whether they were in another school district or during their student teaching experience. Even if you're looking at their resume, you can tell right away from the first 3 or 4 bullets on the resume, bullet points, what this person's all about. I like to look for people who have coaching experience. I think that's critical because you talk about that team concept, pulling for each other, because that's what you need to do in the classroom. You need to support each other. You need to root for the underdog and put the kid in a position to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about asking the right questions and really being specific and looking for specific answers to how you begin and maintain positive relationships. And then also what's on the resume, I think is critically important. And even taking it a step further, with the digital world that we live in now, I want to make sure that people are showing us, the employer, what they're all about, whether it's through a portfolio, a digital portfolio, a blog, a video of some sort. That's important to me as well. And there's just so many ways to do it now. And that, it's very important that you have that relationship with kids. And that's above anything else.
And that's so interesting that you mentioned that the relationship is more important than how much you know about math or your subject. And that seems to be a theme with all the teachers and the educators that I've spoken to on the podcast. It's all about relationships. And I think for new teachers out there or for soon-to-be teachers, when you go into the interview, you have to be able to demonstrate that you are a teacher that focuses on building relationships. I think that is great advice for anyone looking for a job in the classroom. Amazing, great advice, Brad. Other reasons the candidate is human-like and establishes positive relationships with other humans. Again, that's dealing with a relationship. The candidate is a team player, which is so important. I'm finding how important that is, being able to just get along with your teammates. Candidate is innovative and willing to take risk, which is great. Candidate is knowledgeable, of course. The one I like is number 7. The candidate saves their drama for their mama. Tell me about that. That's so true, but I'd like for you to elaborate.
Yeah, it's very easy, and I've been guilty of this, not a lot of times, but especially earlier on in my career, getting caught up in nonsense that has nothing to do with educating your child. The things that you hear about in maybe some team meetings or in the faculty room, the negative noise being around those types of people that focus on things that have nothing to do with promoting the success of a particular student or all students for that matter. And you have to get to the point where you want to stay away from the drama and you want to just focus on the positive. And it's easier said than done. And again, looking, in the interview process, you're asking questions related to that and pressing questions sometimes, and you want to look at their resume and what's on their resume that shows experience where they probably, were exposed to some negativity or some drama, and then be able to, how did you overcome that? How did you stay away from that? How did you keep your head above water? It's very important, because whether you're going through negotiations in a particular, I know in New Jersey we have unions, we go through negotiations and things, staying away from that drama, making sure you're not getting too overly involved in kids' lives, making sure that, you have these cliques and things, making sure that you stay away from those cliquish situations with your colleagues and things, and just, being a real person establishing meaningful relationships with your colleagues. Because this is, as I said before, establishing meaningful relationships with students. It's just as important with your colleagues. Even if you don't see eye to eye on things, you have to work together and be together in order for those children to succeed. And it's important that you continue to stay focused on the positive. That's why I always promote. I know you'll probably talk about this in a little bit from that post, but being a connected educator, whether you're on Twitter or LinkedIn or Pinterest, what have you, that's positive stuff, right? And you're always around positive ideas, positive people, and that just helps everybody involved. And so I think you do some of those things. You keep yourself involved in positive situations. You'll stay away from that drama, which is incredibly important as an educator.
So true. So, and I skip right past that one. Number 6, the candidate is connected learner. Very, very true. Um, the other two, Brad, I have are the candidate dresses for success, and the candidate is so passionate and enthusiastic about their role as lead learner that it becomes contagious. I really want to talk about that professional dress, that success for, a dress for success. Now, I had a post earlier on that talked about, guys should wear ties, and that's just me. Um, and you got to look professional. And I got a lot of flack from some teachers who, don't agree. What is your perspective on that? Not that we're either right or wrong, but as administrator, how do you view that as far as a candidate for teaching?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sam. And first of all, I wear Hawaiian shirts every Friday to work. So I think it's important, that you keep Fridays as somewhat of a dress down day. Whether the staff wants to wear jeans or sneakers, or you want to wear a Hawaiian shirt, or what have you. I think it's
Hmm.
important that you have that. But the rest of the week, I think you need to. I don't know so much about it. I wear ties for the most part. When it gets hot in the summer months, I kind of go back to the polos. But I think a polo or a tie or something, looking at women, obviously, you have to, make sure you're dressed appropriately, because when you do those sorts of things, you're modeling how important it is to be, looking good in front of your students, and that you're not dressed all sloppily and things, and that contributes to the positive school culture, I think, and it makes you dress. If you dress the part, you'll act the part. So I just think you feel more professional when you do those sorts of things. So I always make it a point. Now, Bob Mullen, great guy, who's a principal I work with at Black River Middle School. Now he wears a tie and jacket almost every single day out of the year, when it's hot out and things. So that's more power to him. But it's definitely, I think people will respect you more for it. And it just goes a long way in telling your story of who you are and how important education is. Even though being dressed up like that really has nothing to do with it, it does have something to do with it. It's all connected. It all matters, and so that's how I feel about that.
Right, right. Well, thank you for that, Brad. I totally agree. And again, you want to represent the profession well. The purpose of the podcast, Brad, is to talk to amazing educators and to ask them about what it is to be an amazing teacher and how we can be amazing teachers in the classroom. And I know as administrator, you have a pretty good perspective of the teachers that are in your school and probably teachers in your district. What are some qualities that are common among amazing teachers that you come in contact with?
So the number one quality is that they are always able to maintain positive relationships, not only with the students, but with the parents and the community, all school stakeholders. That's the most important thing. The kids love going to their class. The kids always speak highly of that particular teacher, no matter what the situation is, and they would do anything for that teacher. That's number one. Number two, that these teachers provide autonomy, freedom to explore the subject area in whatever way is most um, important to that particular child. The most, the child's able to um, explore that subject in a way that, whatever way they want, whether it's through technology, through the arts, through reading, through writing, through blogging, creating video, whatever they have to do to understand and show what they know about that particular. The teacher lets them do that. They have the freedom to do that, not once or twice a year, all the time, and it's hard to do. It really is. Um, the great teachers in buildings, they contribute to the school culture in more ways than one. They're coaching sports, they're running clubs, if you need a class cover, they're covering classes, they're doing this, they're doing that. And I've been very fortunate in the 3 schools that I've been in over the last 15 years or so. The majority of people are just like this, and they really care about kids, and they want to come to school every day excited and ready to share that passion and make a difference in somebody's life. And to me, another thing that's really important is that these great teachers are always getting better. They're always trying out new things, and they're always finding a different way to have an impact in class. With a different type of lesson, different type of activity, project. They're always connected in some way, shape, or form to best practices, and they're keeping up with their professional development. So I think that's incredibly important as well. So those are some of the things I look for, or that's how I am able to explain what a great teacher is all about. And I think it really makes a difference in promoting the success of a student.
Very good, very good. So true. That freedom piece, letting kids learn the way they want to learn or the way they can learn, not just putting them in a box. You gotta. This is the way you're gonna learn because that's the way I learn. So true, so true. Well, Brad, if you could sit down with a new teacher and had time for just one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
My advice would be, especially if you're new, is to put yourself around positive people, right? We always tell our kids that as we're growing up. I know my parents. You are basically a reflection of the company that you keep. Well, the same is true when you're working for a school or working in any type of job. You have to put yourself around positive people and learn from them, especially when you're new. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the subject area you're teaching or how you're teaching. It's just the little things that people don't talk about when it comes to being a successful teacher, understanding the culture of the school, understanding your community, your students, your parents, those sorts of little things. You're able to put yourself with a mentor teacher and really understand that and tap into what they're doing. Make sure you're going around to different classrooms and observing these teachers who instill best practices into their classrooms every day, into their lessons every day, from classroom management, to technology integration, to the different ways that they're able to meet the diverse learners. Those are the sorts of things as a new teacher you got to be doing on your own. You got to be getting out the classrooms, observing classrooms, and you need to put yourself around positive people. And the third thing that's really come to light in the last couple of years, I truly believe that you need to be a connected educator, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, what have you. There's a new tool out there called EduClipper where you can clip things, best practices related to education. You need to do that. It's good for your reflection on your practice. It's good in terms of sharing. I think the more we share best practices around the world, the better off our kids are. It'll trickle back down into the classrooms around the world, and it'll impact kids in a positive way. So I definitely think you need to be a connected educator. For me, that's Twitter. It's changed my professional life. I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you right now on a podcast if it wasn't for having those connections on Twitter and what have you, and all the other different things I'm doing now. It's just crazy, but you definitely need to be connected in some way, shape, or form. So I think those are some of the important things when you're a new teacher that you need to really focus on in order to be successful.
I think when we first started out, there wasn't anything like Twitter or Facebook. So yeah, I think that is so true. Being connected, and like you said, I would never have been able to connect with so many of these amazing educators had it not been for Twitter or Pinterest or some of these other social media kind of tools I have. And like I said earlier, I have been just so inspired by these people I'm talking with, that it just gets me excited about these shows. And you talked about classroom management. What are some tips that you would give a new teacher about classroom management?
Yeah, first of all, it's about relationships. We talked about this earlier. That's the first thing you need to do. Um, and over the years, I've relied on some people in the educational world in terms of, but you look at people like Harry Wong. I think it's critical that new teachers, any teacher for that matter, continue to reflect on Harry Wong's work. Um, whether you see him in person speaking or you read his book, The First Days of School. I know he has a monthly blog post on the teachers.net. It's all about procedures, 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 and kids knowing what they need to do in every single instance, whether it's sharpening a pencil or raising their hand or going to the bathroom. All those little things add up, and it's all part of classroom management. So you have the relationship part, you have the procedures part. Um, you look at the work of Todd Whitaker, somebody I look up to, and he has many books out. But one is what great teachers do differently. And again, it goes back to the relationship. It's people, not programs. And the sarcasm and things along those lines is not needed in education. We need to treat people like people. And sometimes it's difficult. You have some rough days, but you need to be the adult in the room and do what's best for kids. Bite your tongue and then move forward. And so those are some of the things. I would recommend. Harry Wong, uh, Todd Whitaker. I know I'm leaving out people. But those are the sorts of people and resources you want to focus on if you're a new teacher. When it comes to classroom management and things along those lines.
Yeah, I'm going to put Harry Wong and Todd Whitaker's link on the bottom of this of the show notes of this podcast, just so people can connect. Brad, do you have a favorite quote that maybe has inspired you that we could learn from?
I have two quotes. One was from when I was in high school playing football. Head football coach. We were very successful. We were successful because of the great coaches we had. But our head coach, Sam Jeffries, always said, he always dared us to succeed. So dare to succeed was always a quote I used as a teacher, as a coach, even now as an administrator. I think it's important that we all dare to succeed and be better every day. We're in the improvement business, not the perfection business. So every day we can get better. And if you don't think like that, then you won't be in the profession too long. Status quo is not an option. And another quote is, fight the good fight. That's my favorite quote. And if you talk to people who've worked with me, they know that's my favorite quote and one I use in emails and all sorts of things. Every day we got to fight the good fight. There's a lot of negativity going on right now with education. And I've been guilty of it too. You get stuck in it a little bit, but it's not going to help anybody at all. We got to continue to rise above that and move forward, be positive, try new things, be innovative, and do what's best for kids. And that's all about fighting the good fight and just plowing ahead. And that's what it's all about. Every day I'm excited to get up and go to work and try new things and work with people and impact kids in some way, shape, or form. And to me, I have the greatest job on earth, and I'm very fortunate because I work with a lot of people. I've always worked with people who felt the same way, and that's what's special about education.
Right. It's a great profession, but like you said, sometimes we have those days, and you got to fight the fight, fight the good fight. Very good, very good. Thank you, Brad. So, what is happening right now in your life, Brad, that you are excited about?
There's all sorts of things that I'm, excited about on a personal level. Obviously, my family, my wife's an educator, and my kids are in school, elementary school, preschool, what have you, and they're enjoying every day, having a good time, having fun, and learning. So I'm proud of that. But on a more even personal note, I have a weekly Twitter show, Sat Chat, every Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We now have Sat Chat WC, the West Coast, at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We've even expanded that now to Sat Chat OC. We have people over in the Oceania part of the world, Australia, Singapore, Indonesia, who actually it's Friday here in the States and Saturday there. They host a Twitter discussion, Sat Chat OC as well. So that's good. That's doing great things. We have our own radio show now on the BAM Radio Network, kind of a recap of what we do. So we're having a good time with that. I'm getting a chance to go out and speak about technology, social media integration, and really being a driving force, behind digital leadership and telling your story as a leader now in the year 2014. I think that's important, so I can do that as well. And right now I'm writing a book for Corin Press on the relationships between schools, parents, and community, how you can foster and grow those with new school techniques like technology and social media and things, but also old school techniques, with being a real person, being human, being open, being available, and things along those lines. So that'll be coming up probably in the fall at some point. So I'm a busy guy right now, but I'm enjoying every single moment of it, and I couldn't ask for anything more.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so awesome, Brad. Let me know when that book comes out. I'll be sure to share it with my audience, and because I know it's going to be full of great takeaways for teachers, for new teachers, veteran teachers. So just let me know, and we'll get that out there for you.
I will, buddy. Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience, Brad, before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I think we are in a very exciting time in education. I truly believe that, even though we have a lot of things coming up here with standardized testing and Park, and I know here in New Jersey with teacher evaluation, and this is a host of other things that although well intended, I think sometimes take on a life of its own, and there's unintended casualties, in terms of what we're really here for in terms of education. That's for the kids, and that's in being innovative and really trying to be a game changer in somebody's life. And I think we just need to, again, like I said before, keep fighting the good fight, and leverage the power of the connections we can now have in education, to share ideas and to become more motivated each and every day and bring that passion. If you can bring that passion every day and you're waking up excited, then you're doing the right thing. If you're not that excited, if you're not that passionate going into work as an educator, then I think you need to find something else to do. So just keep pushing forward, be innovative, try new things, and that's all I have to say, really.
Yeah, bring that passion every day. Such a great quote. Bring that passion. Awesome. Well, Brad, how can we find you if we want to thank you for sharing your insights on the podcast?
You can follow me on Twitter at bcurry5. You can visit my website at www.bradcurrie.net. And hey, anytime you need a live sat chat show at your educational event, or you need somebody to fill you in on some of the great things that are going on in education, need some help, some assistance, that's where you can find me. I'm always willing to help out.
Awesome, and we'll put all those links on the show notes so that people can connect with you. And thank you for your time, sharing your time and your insights here on the podcast. Brad, it's been a sincere pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time out of your busy schedule, I know, to be on the podcast.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for all you do, buddy. You have a great show, great resource with your blog and your website. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Brad. So to the listeners, I know you've received a lot of great information in this episode. So now it's up to you to take it back to your classroom and implement what you learned today. So until next time,
be amazing.
The Amazing Teacher Podcast is brought to you by SuccessInTheClassroom.com. Learn more about being an amazing teacher by visiting SuccessInTheClassroom.com or TheAmazingTeacher.com.